Hi, everyone. Welcome back to What's Up Wednesday. My name is Rachel, and I'm on the client support team here at Early Learning Ventures. And today I am joined by Jodi, who is the special education specialist with School Health. Welcome, Jodi, and thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited for what you have to share with us today on special education. Thank you also to everyone who is joining and watching us live, or if you are watching the recording, thank you so much for being here. If you have not heard of us before, we are a 501c3 nonprofit based out of Colorado, and our mission is to expand access to quality and affordable childcare. I have links in the description of this video that will take you to our website where you can find more about our resources that are offered, as well as access our full What's Up Wednesday playlist. And since we are live today, if you have any questions that come up while we're talking, please go ahead and add them to the chat. Go ahead and just add a comment saying hello. I'd love to see who's here joining us. We also have a very exciting announcement today. We have been hosting a giveaway for the last 7 weeks for a chance to win a scholarship to use Alliance Core completely free for 1 year. So we've asked that you add a comment telling us what your favorite outdoor activities to do with your children are. And it has been so much fun to look through all of those comments and see what you all enjoy doing. So we did choose a comment at random, and the comment that was selected was from Heidi of Heidi's Childcare. So congratulations, Heidi. She mentioned that their favorite activity is pool days, and I must agree that is definitely one of my favorite outdoor activities this time of year as well. It's nice and warm. So congratulations, Heidi. Thank you so much to everybody who participated. We really appreciate your support there. And stay tuned. We will have another opportunity like this coming up as well. And Heidi, we will be contacting you to get that scholarship added to your account. All right. So, Jodi, let's get started. Let's talk about what is up on this Wednesday. Can you first introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your role at School Health?
Yeah, definitely. So, hi, my name is Jodi. I am a special ed specialist here at School Health Corporation. I basically help our schools and clinics, and sometimes it's children's hospitals, things like that, with understanding what is out there to help support our students with varying disabilities to have the best education possibilities out there, and just finding what's good for them. I would say here at School Health, we do as my boss says, the stuff. We don't do the evaluations and things, but we provide the support for the educators in helping find those right tools for each student to be able to access, have their sensory needs met, and things like that. So I would support our end users here and also our account managers across the country, nationally as well. And then School Health, if you don't know what School Health does, School Health is 67, I think, year-old family-owned business, third generation. And they have health services. So they work really strongly with our school nurses. They work on the vision and hearing side. I know you had Mary Ellen on here recently.
Yes.
She's amazing. And then we also do sports medicine, physical education, and then special education and early childhood also.
Great. Thank you so much. So
Yeah.
let's dive into the special education. Can you share with us what are some common signs or behaviors that childcare educators should look for if they suspect a child may have special needs?
Well, I think it's a really important role that the early educators have in this because, they're going to see these signs early of the students, and early intervention is always the best. If you can catch things early, you have a better success rate. But I think what they're going to see is, the developmental milestones before anybody else sees them, and being able to spot them, and when I say developmental, I mean their gross motor, their walking, their talking, their communication skills. Is there anything unique to them? Are they having any communication and speech problems? I think it's really difficult right now, post-COVID, to know whether we're in a time where we have a lot of those COVID babies coming to school now. And I personally have a great niece, and it's a struggle to figure out, is it just delay or is it a special need? So it does take a lot of communication on a lot of people's behalf. But a couple of the things they can look for are those developmental milestones I mentioned, the communication, are they limited? Are they having trouble? Social interactions, how are they acting with their friends? Friendships are so important in school. So how are they, developing with that? Are they able to share things like that? Their behavior, persistent aggressions that they might have, their sensory needs, are they biting? Are they causing disruptions? So behavior is a huge thing right now. Do they have sensory stimulations, whether it's too noisy? Do they act out from different sensory textures, different things like that? Is something to look out for. Routine changes, are they having problems with transitioning from things, from one thing to another, which again can cause behavior issues, but are transitions difficult for them? What's their focus and their attention? Most of them have none these days. I think most of all of us have none these days, but it's something to look out for sure. Is there anything unusual to that? Motor skills, unusual interests is one that we often find. Do they have something that they're really focused on? And then, of course, emotions, and then and the academic factor. Are they struggling when you're working on letters and number recognition, colors, basic things? Is there a struggle there?
Thank you. Do you have any tips for how can these observations be effectively communicated to the parents? Do you have any strategies for initiating these conversations?
I think it's really important for the early educators to also document these types of things so that they can write them down and keep track of them to be able to communicate them better. So I think when you're looking at communicating it effectively with parents, there's a lot of things that come into that as well. I think you have to find the right time. I think, that is important in any communication and any level. But so often, people aren't thoughtful of the time. So are you approaching them at a time that is not ideal for them? Is really important. Understanding that if you're going to mention these things to them, finding out your child might have special needs can be really stressful on a parent too. There's a lot of emotions that go into it. Blame, shame, all these things that the parents have to realize is not their fault. And I think that's a really big one that I hear about a lot, is that the moms tend to think that they did something wrong when that's not the case. So I say that just because you want to be clear in how you talk about it, and also keeping your language pretty simple about it. So you're not overwhelming them with too much diagnosis, because you're not really diagnosing this, right? And so if you can keep simple language, showing empathy, reassuring them, that you want to work together with them to support that child's needs is important. Describing why it's important to write it down is so you could describe in examples, but very detailed examples also, so that they can both be involved in that. I think staying in touch and listening, listening is very important today. In today's world, everybody seems to listen to talk rather than listen to be empathetic. And so I think listening back and forth with that parent is important to hear from their side as well.
Yeah, I think that those are great tips, and it is a really hard conversation for both parties. So I think just everybody going into this understanding that your partners in this, and you're just looking out for the best interest of the child, right?
Definitely.
Do you have any resources, tools, or maybe training opportunities that you can share about that would be available to childcare providers in helping with supporting children with special needs in their program?
Yeah, so I think this one is pretty big. And
Yeah.
because of that, I took some notes down. So I'm going to flip between some notes because this is really the meat of the information that I think is really important for your viewers and everybody to just kind of have those resources.
Yeah.
So within your state, because this I know is for anybody, there's going to be training opportunities, early interventions, getting assessments and therapies are important, getting your IEPs in place, which is your individual education plans in place for these children once you do know they have something, is really important. Your community support is important. So looking within your community to different groups. I think your educators, it's important for them to always keep learning and taking courses to learn, and being on social media. You can put in early, hashtag early educators and things like that. And you can really learn from others peer to peer. I think that's important. Adapting toys is always important. But I've given a list of some really great resources of places that can help with developmental milestones for both the parent and the educator to understand what they're looking for in those. And there's quite a few really great ones. The CDC has developmental milestones. Early Childhood Technical Assistance Center has some great tools and different kits, I would say, like online tools that you can use. National Center for Early Childhood Development, Teaching and Learning is great. Autism Speaks is great. 0 to 3 is another good one. Child Mind Institute. And then there's a National Association for Educational of Young Children that I gave. So all of them would have different resources and different things. But I think when you're looking into your state specifically, make sure you're looking into local workshops and trainings that are offered by your state and your state educational service centers, because those are going to be the most relative to your child who lives in that state, who has the needs and also the resources. If there's funding, if there's grants, if there's different things, that's going to be there as well. And they will put you in contact with the people. You're going to have a community of people to help support you with that child. So from occupational therapists to physical therapists, your SLPs for your speech language, you're going to have, a team of people that will help support you. So I think that's great. And then looking at your government websites, your nonprofits, are there any free toolkits at your universities that are local, are really important. And I think for the educators, again, it's just really important to look into your certification programs, and your state should have some early childhood ones, developmental disabilities, autism spectrum disorders. There's lots of different certificates out there and programs that can help you to help support these students.
Great, thank you. Yeah, that was a big one. So Jodi has mentioned all of these incredible resources and also has shared some PDF documents and all of the links with me. What I'm going to do is add our client support email address to the comments so you can reach out and we can make sure that you get all of these supporting materials. And I'll also make sure that all of those links are included in the description of this video so they're really easy for you to access. But please feel free to reach out. We can help you access the resources that Jodi has provided, and then we can also help find supporting materials if needed as well. That was great. All right.
So the biggest message, though, is you're not alone in it, right? There's people and in communities that can help support you. And so knowing, again, it's not your fault. You're here to help work together as a team to support these children to live their best lives like we all want. And you're just not alone in it. There's lots of parent groups. There's lots of education groups, different things like that.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for pointing that out, because that was something I really wanted to make sure was getting across here in this message, is that there's a lot of help and support here, and we don't want anyone to feel alone in this.
Absolutely.
So Jodi, what are some key strategies or accommodations that childcare providers can implement to create an inclusive environment for children with special needs?
So that's pretty much what I do on a daily basis at my job every day. And I hear from a lot of early educators, it's creating, again, this is kind of a big one, but I took some bullet points for you, was the environment and the physical space that you have. So creating accessibility, which we all know with ADA compliance and stuff, you want your ramps and you want your wide doors, but you also want to take in the sensory needs. So you want to have quiet areas and some sensory toys or something to manage the light and the sound. So oftentimes here we're helping to create those sensory spaces. And I think a big misconception in schools and things is a sensory room is just all things pretty. But you have to really take into account that not every toy it should be in there. And if behavior is an issue, that room really needs to be designed so that it is a safe environment too. If you have it as a behavior room, or a calm down room. You don't necessarily want to have things that kids are going to be throwing and breaking and things like that. So taking in that space, I think, is really important. And then visual supports, oftentimes, students get really overwhelmed with executive function and not having their knowing the transitions again. So visual schedulers, knowing what is first and then what's going to happen next, I think helps students. And we offer things like the time timers and things that have visual schedulers that you can create. And also these young ones don't understand time. And one thing that we ran into right after COVID was they want to see mom and dad, right? And they don't understand the concept of time. So if you use a visual timer, which has like a pie of time, when you get one that's a smaller one, like 5 minutes, it's a lot easier for them on their anxieties to see that passage of time rather than a 5-minute little piece of pie on a 60-minute clock, because then they get anxious about that. Seeing that full time, you can sometimes address behavior and things like that. So I think your environment and physical space is really important. I think it's really important to have your staff trained on inclusive practices and understanding disabilities. There are inclusion specialists out there. That is super important to involve the right people and understand it. And then, again, going back to your professional development, make sure you get into that. The IEPs, parent partnerships, again, with collaboration, and that make sure that you're involving the parents. Don't just think you're, again, an educator doing this and then they go home and it's something different. I think the best success rates is when you're working together as a team, because then you have the same schedule at both places. And then making sure that you can adapt your flexible curriculums. So adapting those for students with disabilities, making sure it can be the same exact thing, you just adapt it a little bit different. And that way it's inclusive for everyone that's there. Always have positive reinforcement, encourage the good behavior, build their confidence up. Don't always be telling them no. No is important, but not always telling them no. Also encourage their positive behaviors. And then I think having patience and flexibility is really important. So, some good examples I would say is, and why inclusive play is really important. I did write down some really important things there, I think, is because it's going to allow improvement on, I think it's crucial for early education, actually, for inclusive play, because you're teaching them emotional development, social development, you're teaching them their cognitive development, their physical development, they're learning about diversity in that too. And so if they can see students and play with students who have special needs, it's just better for everyone, because you're teaching them empathy and teaching them exposure to this at a younger age. So it brings down barriers that are there. And it's just so important for everyone to have friends. And it should never be secluded off that these are these kids and those are those kids. So I think it's really crucial for them to learn how to play together and learn how to solve problems together. There's amazing people out there with disabilities that have a lot to give to this world. And I think sometimes when parents learn that their child has a disability, it's very crushing, like, oh gosh, what are they going to do with their life? But if they are fostered and grown and supported and get their accommodations, the things these children can do is just amazing, so I like to say, to never rule out what people can do in life.
Thank you. That was a lot of really great information on all of this. And I think lastly, do you have any stories that, or maybe examples of special education professionals that you can share with us in supporting children with special needs using the tools and resources that you've mentioned?
I do have some, evidence-based sensory strategies for early education. Again, we can share that out afterwards. But there is, some really, again, you want evidence-based stuff. You don't want just throwing things out there. So in the sensory room spaces and things like that, you can help regulate their emotions, reduce their anxieties just by creating these, textured walls, softer lighting, sensory mats, things like that, with some calming sounds. Some of our teachers like to use the classroom appropriate fidgets. Some of those things, again, could be things like stress balls or weighted blankets. You always want to work with or weighted toys, but always know you should work with your occupational therapist on the weight of these items. It should never be more than 10% of the child's weight. And I think a lot of people don't know that, and sometimes put a blanket on or, a onesie on that's weighted. And I've been reading a lot about it because my daughter's pregnant right now. And you can really harm more than help, basically. So make sure you're working with an occupational therapist if you're going to work on weighted items. But there's been some great research out there, again, on the visual schedulers and timers and things like that, with understanding their routines and transitions, which will then transition them into their high school days, their middle school days, their college days, their life. If they don't manage these things early on, then they can struggle for life. And I think literacy is another one that doesn't get enough conversation, but early literacy is so important. I could have a whole nother conversation with you on that, but if you can, again, get them addressing the sounds and the letters early on, literacy makes for everything in life, down to your job, down to your employability. And I think that's something that we really need to take a look at right now. 4th and 8th graders are reading at a 35% proficiency across the country. And I think that's something that should be alarming for all of us as just humans. So, and parents.
Yeah. Well, you have shared so much information with us today, Jodi. I know I've learned so much. I hope that everybody watching has as well. Do you have anything to add to this, or any final thoughts you want to leave us with today?
No, again, I think it's just, be inclusive, get kids playing in an inclusive environment. I think, the last thought I'd like to leave you with is, you and I were talking about it before we got on here, is just screen time, making sure that you look at the research out there around screen time, and making sure that you're not introducing media to your child too early, because it can add to some of your delays and things. So there's a lot of information out there by, I think it was who did I give you? The American Pediatric Association.
Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So just knowing that, I think, is really important too. You're not alone. There's lots of people around. Myself and my boss have worked together for 10 years. And Dr. Ray and I really care about the people we support. So if we can ever answer any questions or just help support you along the journey, we are happy to do so.
Thank you so much, Jodi. I really appreciate you spending time with us today and sharing all of this information. Like I said, I added our client support email address to the comments here. So if you would like supporting materials or help accessing any of the resources that Jodi shared with us today, feel free to contact us and we can help you get those. I also just wanted to say again, congratulations to Heidi for winning our giveaway for the scholarship for Alliance Corps. And thank you so much to everybody that participated. It was really a lot of fun. And we will have another giveaway opportunity coming up here soon. I hope you all have a great rest of your day, and we will see you next time. Bye.